So today we find ourselves at the Bure Valley Railway at Coltishall station. Here comes John of Gaunt. Loco there pulling a train through, heading for Aylsham. Originally it was a standard gauge track that went from Wroxham to Aylsham, which opened on New Year's Day 1880 as part of the Great Eastern Railway. Only approximately 6,000 passengers took the trains per annum in those days, whereas now the Bure Valley Railway takes approximately 120,000 passengers every year. And here we have Blickling Hall going back towards Wroxham station. We will see both of these locomotives again shortly. Originally, as I said, part of Great Eastern, LNER took over in 1923 and passenger traffic increased due to local RAF bases and World War II. After the war, at the end of the rationing of fuel, rail services became uneconomic, and the last passenger train was the 15th of September 1952. Though freight continued, with British Rail formally closing the line in 1983. The last of the full-size trains ran in 1984 as they lifted the track. So here I am arriving at Aylsham station, one end of the track. As I've said, the other end is in Wroxham. So heading into the station building, we find the shop and the ticket office. The shop is a really good model shop, as well as having general gifts and railway memorabilia. I'm going to give you a very, very speedy tour. That is mostly wagons. And we had some scenic material. I was trying to not video children or other members of the public, so they were selling full sets here in TT and 00, plenty of choices of books, some Pico track bits and pieces, as I said, plenty of scenic materials, lots of people in N gauge and 00 gauge, more wagons. That was a quick glimpse of the cafe, and here are all the locos, both in N gauge and 00 gauge. And then you find me outside at the platform. Here is the John of Gaunt arriving at Aylsham station with the train of passengers that we saw at Coltishall. The John of Gaunt was built at Aylsham workshops in 1996-7 with components made by Winson Engineering. It was a design based on the Vale of Rydal Railway, a 262 tank engine, similar to models 6, 7 and 9. It was first fired in December 97 by oil. However, during an overhaul in 2005, it was converted to coal firing and then returned to service in 2008. In 2010, the cylinder size was reduced and steam passageways altered for better efficiency. The John of Gaunt locomotive will now do a run around to the front of the train. So it moves further up the track here so that it can get past the points, and then it will move onto a different set of rails. With the points switched, it can now reverse past the train of carriages to the head of the train. However, before doing that, the locomotive here goes on a turntable so that it can point in the direction of travel back to Wroxham. So the Loco there has driven past another set of points which have been switched so that it can drive onto the turntable. And while we're watching all this happen, let's do a bit more of the history of the Bure Valley Railway. So Norfolk County Council liked disused railways to become footpaths back in the 1980s, and Broadland District Council looked for ways to finance this, and the idea of a narrow gauge railway was put forward, leaving room for a footpath beside it. So the railway was constructed in 1989 and the line opened in 1990. This narrow gauge railway then changed hands several times until 2001, when it was acquired by a small group of enthusiasts now called the Friends of the Bure Valley Railway. And with the hands-on directors, the future seems bright. So now the locomotive is going to be topped up with water. Coal for heritage railways is getting more and more tricky to obtain. So here at the Bure Valley Railway, they used compressed coal dust. So now the John of Gaunt will pull forwards in front of those points again, which will then be switched to allow it to reverse onto the head of the train of passenger carriages. Loco number 3 was designed and constructed for the Bure Valley in 1988 by John Edwards of Great Yarmouth. It's a diesel hydraulic modelled on the British Rail Western class. After a major refit in autumn 1998, it was renamed 2nd Air Division USA Air Force in tribute to the division who flew B-24 Liberators from 14 airfields in the region during the Second World War. Here in the workshop is the Wroxham Broad, originally built in 1964. It finally came to the Bure Valley Railway in 1991 and was rebuilt as a 264T steam loco by Winson Engineering. Here's a photograph of what it should look like, clearly now having another overhaul. And now we come to Loco number 4, originally built by Hudson Hunslet as a 2-foot gauge industrial loco in 1954. It then came to the Bure Valley Railway and following lengthy reconstruction was handed to the railway for use in October 2004. It's 14-foot long, 4-foot wide and has a Peugeot diesel engine and hydraulic drive. Its principal job is as Aylsham yard pilot, doing track work and helping to flail the line. In the workshop behind it we see another boiler and a further loco behind. And now we return to platform number 1, where John of Gaunt is waiting to leave the station on the 3 trip to Wroxham. However, first we await the arrival of the Blickling Hall led train. The Blickling Hall locomotive was built for the Bure Valley Railway by Winson Engineering and was delivered at Easter in 1994. From 2001 to 2004, it had a thorough overhaul, which included new cylinders, smoke deflectors, a multi-jet limper exhaust, and other modifications, making the Blickling Hall the most economical tender engine of the fleet. A design loosely based on the Indian Rail ZB class of loco, which were using 2-foot 6-gauge, Blickling Hall is a half-size replica. So now the 15:05 departure for Wroxham. So let's have a closer look at the Blickling Hall. This is a 262 loco. It has a length of 28 feet. Its width is 4'6", and it has a working weight of 13 tons. Its boiler pressure is also 180 psi. Second Division USAAF Loco number 3 is heading up the last train of the day at 4 p.m. back to Wroxham. So now we're witnessing Blickling Hall heading for the turntable, where it will get to turn round and then it will reverse up to the locomotive shed, as it is not going out anymore today. It will also get topped up with water from the water tower before going into the locomotive shed though. So the last train of the day ready to go out, and sadly that means it's also time for me to leave. I hope you've enjoyed this video of the Bure Valley Railway. Please consider a like and subscribe to Lake Locos. It does help the channel. Thank you.